All right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you once again welcome to the Kingdoms podcast, and today I have really fantastic guest with me. It's a double special today. I have with me the founders of the Augment Business School, the sponsors of the Kingdoms podcast. How are you, Joe and Roy? How are you guys doing? Joe, go first.
Yeah, I'm all good, man. Thank you very much for having us here. It's a privilege for us to be able to be part of this podcast. It's the reason why we endorsed it as well, is because we believe in these kind of entrepreneurial, proactive, initiatives that you're going through. And yeah, it's a pleasure for us. It's the first time that I'm doing a podcast with Roy, so
Wow.
it's a pleasure that goes both ways.
Thank you so much,
Oh,
Ademola, for having us today. It's a great honor for us to participate in the podcast of one of our students. So we are very excited for this conversation with you.
Oh wow, interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. The podcast today is about you guys, right? But then, let's talk about me first, right? I think I met with Joe first, virtually actually, and we kind of connected, right? Really connected well. And when you meet somebody virtually and it feels like you've been friends with them for a long time. So I want to put you on the spot, Joe. Like, what is your opinion of me as a person?
I honestly, man, and just so everyone knows, Ademola didn't pay for me to say this. This is the truth. It's coming from my heart. I agree with you. I had a good
This is
feeling.
not scripted.
No, it's not
It is not
scripted at all.
scripted.
And I mean, I totally agree. And I think when someone feels something strong, usually it's reciprocated on the other side as well. And yeah, I felt like our conversation was very long. I remember, I think it was 2 months ago almost now, and we spoke for a very long time. We talked about
Yeah, it was very
Nigeria, we
interesting.
talked about your country, we talked about the importance of education in developing countries. I mean, it was really a good thing, and I agree. We had a very good fit, and that's how you kind of introduced me very quickly to your friend. And I remember
Yes,
that day
exactly.
where we had a group conversation after our kind of one-to-one call, and it was really nice. I felt like you seemed like a very good fit for our program, honestly. And I'm not saying this from a commercial kind of argument. I'm saying this
Perspective.
seriously. I honestly felt like, with all of your background, if I'm not mistaken, you did economics as a degree.
Exactly.
At that time, you were working as an auditor, and I mean, everything you said kind of resonates with what we were trying to do. So, I mean, I totally agree. Like, it was a pleasure to meet you, and it's going to be an even bigger pleasure to finally be able to meet you face to face next week.
Uh, okay. Thank you very much. It is actually very important to be endorsed by brands that you actually connect with, and not just brands that pay you money to say good words about them. And that is something that I really am happy about. Being connected to the Augment brand. So, congratulations on your recent $6 million fundraising for the Augment Business School. How are you guys celebrating this big win, and what are the plans for the future in a nutshell? Let Roy take that.
Yes, so of course, we just announced our 6 million fundraising. It's a testament to the good work of the whole Augmenting. So we are very proud. It's a big milestone for us, and it will allow us to develop. One thing that for sure we'll do first is to create more content, more classes with more incredible speakers that will teach new subjects and be added to the program. And we will invest a lot for the community. As you know, next week we'll do a first event in London, a real live event. We will organize webinar, we will organize live session. So the community is obviously a very strong component of any MBA, and we will try to replicate that. And so the reason why we raise that amount of money is to invest in the content and to invest in our community. And how we did to celebrate that, we went to the restaurant with the whole team. We had a great time, and we are just so excited for the long journey that is ahead.
Yeah,
Okay, wow,
I
fantastic. You want to say something, Joe?
no, I just agree, obviously, with everything that Roy said. I think it's a testament of the trust that people put on us, as he said, and it's really been something of a privilege to be part of this adventure for all of us. And I think it's a big win for sure. But I also think that, and this is a state of mind that we all share here, is that we remain calm and focused, because it's really only the beginning. This is a long run, what we're trying to do here, and it's really just the beginning of a very long endeavor and adventure. We're trying to improve the educational landscape in a really concrete way. So it's just the beginning. We're focused. We're trying to not to get too excited about it. Investments also means a lot of work, because now,
Exactly.
yeah, we have to live up to the expectations of the investment now, and it means a lot of pressure, but we're happy to take it. And I mean, I think everyone here is very excited for what's next, particularly next year.
Oh wow, interesting. I think Joe, you mentioned the team were in Morocco recently. Is that part of the celebrations? Because you gave me the recommendations, for the restaurants in Morocco, and I did also have a good time in Morocco. It's interesting for all of us, on this podcast, have been in Morocco recently. So how's the time in Morocco? And was that also part of the 6 million celebration?
It was more of a kind of a team building moment for us, to plan everything that was ahead in the next 6 months that we've been going through. We went to Morocco beginning of September. It's true that our fundraising had already been completed, because it was completed in August, but it wasn't really something to do with the fundraising. It was more about us being together and making sure we're on the same page with everything. Sorry for that. So it was more about that. It was amazing. Honestly, Roy organized most of it. He did it pretty well, I have to admit. And the entire team went there. And it was more about, just making sure we're aligned from a content perspective, a marketing perspective, a sales perspective, all the operations in the business. And it was truly a very good time. And I would recommend to go to Morocco.
Okay, yeah, I was in Marrakesh as well. Like you said, team bonding and teamwork makes a dream work, right? You guys tend to speak French, right? The language barrier wouldn't have been a problem for you. It was indeed, a big one for me. But then, the people were quite fantastic, friendly, and for me as well, I would recommend for people to go to Morocco. Habibi, go to Morocco. Leads us to our next question, right? How do you guys describe yourselves on a personal basis? Who wants to go first? Like, in a nutshell, how would you describe yourselves?
I'll go first, and then I mean, I don't know. I think on a general basis, I'm a very curious person. I'm a pretty passionate person in the things that I do from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective. I tend to approach it in a very similar way. I really enjoy communicating with people, and trying to understand and trying to help people. I'm very serious about that. It's one of the things that I really enjoy the most about what we do here at Augment, because at the end of the day, it is about helping people. It is about trying to have an impact on people's lives. And it's something that really drives me considerably. Then I would say I'm probably very adaptable and flexible for cultural reasons. I've lived in multiple countries. I come from different countries. I can talk about that later, but it makes me pretty open-minded and very flexible. I think in a nutshell, that's what I would say. I probably forgetting some things, but that's the main things, I think.
Yeah, no,
I think I'll endorse that. Right from the very first day we had a conversation, I did pick that. So you do not even have to say it, but our audience needs to know it. Roy, what's up with you?
It's not very easy to describe myself, but I would say that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, to build a project, to be with people that I love, that I like, that I love working with. This is for me like a chance, and I'm very happy to be able to do that every single day with amazing colleagues, amazing co-founder. So I would say that I'm very intense. I'm 100% in everything that I do, and I try to make things happen. I love to take risks. I don't care about what people think, and I just go for it.
Fantastic. So what would you guys say are your common interests, like in terms of your interests, your personality similarities, and are there any differences between you guys as well?
I just want to tell Ademola a story that is actually funny. So Joe and I were both from Belgium, and from the exact same city, Brussels, and our schools were like 15 know each other since we moved both to London to study at King's College, where we met. So this is something very interesting, and now we we have become very good friends for like 6-7 years since we met in London. I think, what are our common points?
There's a lot of, I mean, first of all, this is a funny story because it's the truth. I mean, we met on the first day of our bachelor's. Literally, I remember it was in 2015. As soon as we arrived at our campus, we met each other. And since then, we've been extremely close. And, you know, the relationship has only been growing from there. I do think the funny thing about us is that although we have a lot of differences, when you know us very well, in terms of what Roy just said when he described himself, we do have a lot of similarities from that perspective as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have such good synergy when we work together. We're both pretty sensitive people, you know, and I mean this in a good way. I mean, like it can backfire sometimes because it's never good to be too sensitive, but I think, you know, we're pretty thoughtful. We have serious amount of compassions about people, and I think it builds up on a pretty good emotional intelligence. And I say this with absolutely no arrogance. I think it's the truth. And I think Roy mentioned intensity, and I completely agree that he has it and I have it as well. It's probably one of the reasons why, you know, Augment is going on the right track. We're very intense at work, and it's true that once we start something, we can go on it very hard, and we push ourselves to the limit. And now I hope it stays that way in a healthy way, but for the moment, it's been a hell of a ride. And yeah, I think our similarities are the intensity. I think it's the sensitivity part, and yeah, I mean,
I think that one of our main differences is that, let's say there is a room full of people, it's 10 times easier for Joe to make friends and to talk than it is for me. So this would be like our main difference, I think.
Yeah.
So he seems to be more of the sanguine, and you probably another temperament, the outgoing and the extrovert versus introvert.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Roy an introvert though. I think it's different communicating skills. It's a different approach, but combined, it's very complementary.
Okay, so what are the factors you guys reckon make you guys form such a strong team at Augment Business School? Like, what are those factors you think, you know, make the team tick?
I think one of the main advantages of this team is that we are all young, we are all hungry, we want to make things happen, we are very ambitious, and we just get things done. And I think it's very important. I can trust my team. When they say I'm on it, they're on it. When something is supposed to be done, it's done. And I think this is like basic things. First principle: you say that you will do something, you do something, and when it's done, it compounds. And over time, it makes a successful company. And I think we have all of that at Augment.
I completely agree, and I think there's I mean, I'm taking quotes out of other people, but there's a relentless aspect of the team, you know. And I remember in Morocco we talked about this, and it's the idea of being relentlessly resourceful. And it's a profound idea, and something that whatever manager or whatever CEO would love to have. Only employees who are relentlessly resourceful, and it's truly what I believe our team is. You know, there's a ruthless aspect about it, but honestly, in a very positive way. Like people have a very strong energy. They believe in pushing the boundaries all the time, and as Roy said, they just make things happen. You know, we invest in young talent here. You know, more than profound experience, and people learn very quickly. And as Roy said, it compounds, and we see the results. You know, just getting better and better. And yeah, I think that's really the reason.
And of course, when you have a non-experienced team, so there is some default. You do not have that experience, but the fact that you do not have that experience is that sometimes you do not know how hard it is, and because you do not know how hard it is, it makes it easier to go for it. And then
you're hungry. You're hungry and passionate.
And then you find a way. And I think that's our chance at Augment. We believe that we can do anything, and so we will go for it.
I totally agree. Like, we dream big because we don't, until we're proven it's not possible, well, we're always going to believe that it is. And it's just, and all the time, that's the approach that we have for all sorts of subjects here at Augment. It's keeping that kind of young mind, and, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I know something with you guys, you know, that the learning spirit, and that's something that has actually been very responsible for my own success as well in my life. You know, when you are open-minded, you're open to learning, right? You have endless possibilities, you know. But then when you feel like you already know, right, it limits the extent to which you can actually, you know, go far. as a person. And interestingly, probably something I did not tell Joe, at some point in my life, I used to be a teacher. I used to be a lecturer, actually. I used to lecture professional students, right? I used to lecture financial accounting, financial reporting, corporate reporting, right? And then I noticed something with my students, right? The ones that did not have a finance background tend to do better than the ones with finance backgrounds, because the guys without the finance backgrounds tend to feel like they do not know anything. So they feel like they're tabula rasa, their minds, are a clean slate when it comes to finance, and they're very hungry and passionate to learn. But those ones with the finance background feel like they already know what finance is about, right? And they do not tend to have, the kind of great results that the guys without the background tend to have. That's my own personal research and study from lecturing, and hopefully in the future I'll also be a lecturer in the Augment Business School. We'll see about that.
No, nothing is impossible.
Yes, definitely. So
I
to the
think
next question.
one thing I want to add just about what you said is the flexibility as well. Having youth is we're very adaptable to the situations, and so if we realize that some things aren't going the right way, or we're and this is something that you can have because of the maybe lack of experience. We're not stubborn about things. We are very happy to react and to adapt and to be extremely flexible, and it makes us go fast and be pretty efficient in the things that we do. And that can be related to any sorts of any parts of the business. It's really something that I think, identifies us a lot.
Oh, interesting. So, you guys grew up around the same place, but then separately, until you got to meet in London, right? So the next question basically is about how childhood, and growing up was like for you, and who were your early life influences. So, who goes first? Joe, go first.
Listen, yeah, I mean, so I had a pretty turbulent childhood, to be fair, just because my parents divorced, honestly, and it defined a lot of the things that, came after that. I lived in 3 different countries during my childhood in 4 different cities. It's probably the reasons why I have certain traits in my personality as well. It comes with good and bad things, to be fair. So I have dual nationality. I'm half Brazilian and half Belgian, just like Roy. So I lived, I started in London, then I went to Sao Paulo, then I went to Rio, and then after that I went to Brussels. And I mean, as everything in life, it's a trade-off. So it comes with a lot of positive things. It allowed me to have a very open mind, from a cultural aspect, but also just, being comprehensive with every type of people and being able relationship with all sorts of different types of people. And it also is complicated because my family is always very far away, and I know you can understand that, having family in Africa, and I suppose maybe family in the UK. It's something that it has pros and cons. That's Roy and I grew up in Brussels I was there for 7 years, and then we went to London, and that's where we met. So I think that's basically my childhood definitely defined a lot of the things that I do now, and a lot of the ways that I am, like everyone, to be fair. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think for me it was a bit different. I was born in Belgium. I went to the same school, a small Jewish school in Belgium, for 18 years. So I had a very small circle. I knew the whole community. My friends were the same since 6 years old to 18 years old. So I would say a very calm childhood, very happy childhood. And then I decided that I needed to move, that I needed to travel, that I needed to meet other people from different countries. That I had to learn to speak English because I was very bad in English. I think one of the main things that defined my childhood, I was part of a youth movement in Brussels, and I always dreamed to become the head of the youth movement. And when I was 18, I became the head of the youth movement. I would say it was my first entrepreneurial experience. It was like the goal was to have as many kids as possible going to your youth movement. So the number of kids were like your currency. And so if you had more kids, it meant that you did a good work. And I think that's where I really fell in love with being an entrepreneur, helping people, having a team, organizing events, organizing educational activities for the kids, basically. And I think that defines me a lot. And then I moved to England, and that's where we started studying together with Joe in the UK.
Wow, interesting. Speaking of your Jewish background, right? I once read a book called The Jewish Phenomenon. It's about 7 principles that the Jews utilize in leading a very successful life, in the Jewish communities. So one of the principles I learned in that book is that successful people are either professionals or entrepreneurs. So do you agree with that principle, right? And did you see that principle playing out in your Jewish community?
What are the 2 words that you say?
Professional and
Yeah, professionals and entrepreneurs. Yes, that successful people. That the definition of success to Jewish people is either you are a professional or an entrepreneur. And the family setup is actually built towards ensuring that the kids in the society, so to speak, end up as either entrepreneurs or professionals. Would you
I
say
think,
that
yeah.
was actually applicable to you as well?
I don't like to do generalization, but I will talk for me and for the people that I know. It's true that personally, I was only around entrepreneurs. My father is an entrepreneur, and all his friends are entrepreneurs. So of course, it had a big impact on me. I think, and as I said, I don't like to do generalization, but education is like the most important thing. And everything starts with education and being curious and wanting to learn. But one thing that I would say that was very important for me personally, and I have to thank my parents for that. They put in my head since I was a kid that everything is possible and that nothing is too big for me, and that I can dream big. And that's, I think, is very important.
Oh, wow, interesting. The next question on my leaves right now is about your academic background. So can you talk us through your academic backgrounds? So let's go with Joe first.
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, I went to different schools when I was a kid, and then growing up as a teenager in Brazil, in a developing country. I started in the English system. That's how I learned English from a very young age. Then I went to the French system when I moved to Rio, another city in Brazil. And then I went to Brussels. I finished, I went to the French school there, which is a pretty, prestigious kind of French institution. And it allowed me to make, all of my best friends and amazing people, a lot of entrepreneurs as well, who kind of pushed me to be where I'm at today as well. I really acknowledge the importance of my best friends and their ambition that I share with them, and that allowed me to kind of thrive in the way that I wanted to. And I'm really thankful for that. And then I went to London. I went to King's College. I studied international development with economics. I was always very, very interested in the developing world and the emergent economies and what makes a country to develop itself quicker than another one. What are the fundamental factors that defines, the development of a society? I really think it's something that I was very interested in, because my will was to go to Brazil, was to go back to Brazil and help my country. I know it seems, very big, but it was really my dream since I was an early teenager. And then, I went to Paris. I went to a business school, to one of the very famous business schools here in France, because I realized that economics I really recommend it. I think it's extremely important to have the economics knowledge, because it's the way that the whole world operates. But I felt like I needed some, practical business schools, which is ironic considering what we're doing here at Augment. But then I went through the business school. It was amazing. I met a lot of people, and now I'm here. It kind of, aligned itself pretty naturally.
And for me, as soon as I graduated from high school, I went to London as well, where I met Joe, to King's College. I studied mathematics. To be honest, it didn't interest me that much, but in the end, it allowed me to go to my dream school, which was HEC Paris. And HEC Paris is actually where we had the idea for Augment, and we might talk about it a little bit later. But I had a great time. I did, as Joe, a master in management. I met amazing people. I had 2 amazing years. But I was extremely disappointed by the quality of the classes, because all my teachers were either academic, sometimes consultant, but none of them had built any businesses in their life. And for me, that always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and learn how to build a successful company, it wasn't interesting and it wasn't anchored in the real world.
Yeah.
And that's why we decided to go for Augment and to create an alternative that we believe is much more appropriate for anyone wanting to learn the real business skills.
I felt the same.
Yeah.
I agree. There was a discrepancy between the theoretical reality that PhDs and researchers can teach you at business schools, even the best ones.
Exactly.
And the actual practical reality. There's just a huge gap between both, and we felt like it was a void that should be filled. It's something that was honestly pretty impressive to see how far from the reality sometimes the concepts that we were taught were. So I completely agree. I felt the same.
It's quite interesting to see how business geniuses actually get bored, right, by abstract concepts in school. It's played itself over time. Look at the likes of Steve Jobs, the likes of Bill Gates. They get bored, with school, not because they're not academically brilliant, but then they're more interested in the practical stuff, right? And I think that's also playing out with you guys. And here, kudos to what you guys are doing with the Augment Business School. The moment I told Joe the moment I saw it, I think I saw it on an Instagram ad, right? And then I forgot the name, but then I saw the concept and I knew this is a right concept. This is what a business school should be. Because for me, I've actually been delayed, doing an MBA. I started one in Nigeria, but at some point when I moved to the UK, I had to stop, that program. But then when I saw it, I said, yes, this is what I have been looking for. Being taught business by people who have actually built businesses, right, from start up to become unicorns. And that is really what business is about. Business is practical, not abstract, right? And it's quite great what you guys are doing. So I think that leads us to the next question on the script. So it says, how did you guys get into business, and what were your motivations?
Go ahead, Roy.
I mean, as we said, I think it was very natural for us. Personally, it wasn't even a question. I always knew I wanted to go into the business world. And finally, it happened that we decided to create a business school. So it went even further than just going into business. But yeah, something very natural for us, whether it's being an entrepreneur, working in a startup, in the tech scene, but always about business. I think that's what we like, and that's why we always wanted to do.
Yeah,
okay,
I agree.
Did you guys? Oh, sorry, Joe. Did you guys build any business before Augment, or Augment was the very first startup that you guys built?
So personally, I had a first company. It was during the COVID. I was in my last year at HEC. I was doing a master in entrepreneurship, and I created my first company. It was a 3D printing company. We used to print during the COVID, and maybe because you wear glasses, maybe you had a lot of fog into the glasses.
That's a real story. It's amazing.
So, just so you know, my glasses are not what do you call it? They're not medicated glasses. They are
okay. So maybe
they're photochromic lens for the computer, because I use the computer screens for long hours, right?
Yeah,
and then I used to have I used to have migraines. Yeah, so I only wear those glasses when I'm in front of my computers. So you won't see me in real life with the glasses.
And so what we did, we invented a little clip that you could put on the mask to prevent the fog to go on your glasses, because it's like here it did like this, and so the fog couldn't go to the glasses. And it started as a side project, but then we started selling to pharmacies in France, in Belgium, even in Ivory Coast, in Switzerland. And it became quite big, to be honest. We started the year with one 3D printer. We ended the year with 30 3D printer. We sold 1 million clips all over Europe. So it started very small, but it became quite big at the end of the year. So that was for me my first entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah, I
How about you?
followed it. very closely. I remember very well. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because I learned from failure as well. My entrepreneurial initiatives weren't as successful as WeBuild, which is the company Roy is referring to, the 3D printer company. I actually tried two ventures. Both were didn't necessarily. Didn't lead to what I wanted them to lead. I tried doing a food truck company in Brussels in 2018. So it was like 5 years ago. And I was honestly close to doing everything. I almost bought the truck. I had agreements with the local government and everything. I had my chef and my suppliers. I just didn't have enough funding at that time. And I regret it, but I also learned a lot through that endeavor. I always dreamed of launching my own food truck and my own restaurant. I'm really interested in the food industry. So, but I think it's important, like obviously Roy had his success with WeBuild, and now obviously Augment is going pretty well. But I think for all entrepreneurs out there, it's cliche to say this. I know it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. It's cliche because it's through failure that you really learn as well what it takes, to truly kind of reach that next level that you want to accomplish. And our instructors, the teachers that we have at Augment, completely agree with this. It's something that they teach as well. So although my food truck didn't work, Augment is working now. So, you have to just keep believing, as Roy said at the beginning, and you have to just keep that, self-confidence and confidence in the things that you believe in. And I do believe that at some point it will pay. And I mean this in a very honest way. I don't mean it as like a stereotypical kind of motivational speech. So no, I'm serious. I think I learned a lot from the failures that I had. I tried launching a company when I was at school as well. It was Hedon Hoods. Again, we sold a bit of it. We made a bit of money, but we didn't scale it to where we wanted it to go. And still a big learning for me. So that's what I think. And that's how I went to the business world. I was meant to go slightly more into a traditional corporate world. I actually specialized in finance during my business school. And then, I just realized that, after working for a year and a half in the financial ecosystem in the traditional corporate world, honestly, developing a small business is something that I consider to be far more exciting and far more interesting, and drove me much more.
Interesting. I do hope that the up and comers that are watching this or listening to this would actually learn from your experience. I tell people that you should not be afraid to fail, right? And in life, for me as a person, I have learned to own up to my failures and my successes as well, because the failures have actually built me, built my character, built my resilience, right? And if you fail at endeavors in life, right, it is just a lesson. It's a fuel for you to move forward and learn. It's only bad when you do not learn from your failures, but then never be afraid to fail, because even the most successful people in life, right, have actually failed at multiple things, right? But then people in society tend to put more focus on the successes without circling back to see that people have actually have failed in the past. And it's a beautiful thing to have you guys share these experiences of your failures in the past. When you look at the description of the podcast, right, it says it's about sharing the stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, right? The extra to the ordinary is is about building resilience from the failures that you've actually had in life, and impacting people with the successes that you have. It's really, really fantastic. You guys are talking about the failures you've had. I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you. So kudos to you guys. So the next question we have is why do you guys choose the online business education? Right, out of the different business models, right, you could have decided to scale up the glasses thing, do something that involves tangible goods, right, going to FMCGs, right? Why online business education? Why did you guys choose that?
I think it's a mix of reason, and there is not one single reason. But before starting Augment, we knew that we wanted to have a big impact on the world. We knew that education was extremely important for us, and we knew that we were extremely disappointed by the quality of our classes and one of the top business schools in Europe. And so we wanted to impact the most people. And that's why EdTech, digital online learning, is so powerful, because you can impact as many lives as you can. And sky is the limit. And that's why online education is so powerful. And I think it will change many things in the education sector in the next 10 years. People will be able to learn anything online. People won't have any excuse. If you want to succeed, you can find anything online. But we wanted to create the platform where you will find the best business course on the internet, because it's taught by the greatest entrepreneur of our generation and it's the highest production quality. And so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to create the best business classes by the best people and to impact as many people as possible. And that's why online learning was the way for us.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think Joe, you have something to say about that.
No, I totally agree with what Roy is saying. Just to emphasize it even more, like, and this is something that we've been going through for the last 10 months now, is that when we see that our product, our platform, and our program, how it can impact people's lives, and I mean this extremely seriously, like the tangible results that we see in people's lives, and as he said, the scalability of our product as well. And I'm serious about this. It's something that we almost slightly underestimated. Like, we operated in the US and the UK market. We started with those markets for the most obvious reasons, because the MBA was more famous there and more expensive there. But then we started receiving enrollments from people all over the world. And you're from Nigeria, for instance. We have a large Nigerian community. We have people from across Africa, all over Europe and Asia. And I speak to these people almost every day. And when I see that our value proposition is so useful for them, although we don't know anything about their culture, like, I don't know what a pain point is in the middle of Vietnam, maybe, or in Dubai, for example. And still, they identify to what we're trying to do just as much as people who we grew up with and are in the same city as us. And that is the ultimate satisfaction, to see how helpful we can be for people across the entire world, regardless of where you're from and your culture. And that is something that is very impressive. And I think, very quickly, from more of a macro perspective, having studied international development, I really believe, and I've always believed this since I was a kid in Brazil, that education is probably the most critical factor for any development of an economy and of a country. It really is. The best investment that you can make is investing on your own education, and just to always keep learning. It's something that will pay the highest dividends, and I truly believe that. So I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about what we're doing here at Augment.
Okay, just before we move on to the next question, just to keep this in, you mentioned Nigeria. Education is a big part of the culture in Nigeria, I must tell you. Like, if you're not educated, if you're not educated in Nigeria, people look at you like you probably don't know what you're doing with your life. I think it's just something they really push you, to go to school. So a lot of people in Nigeria even go to school without even knowing the essence of, why they're going to school. But I think for a lot of people, it gets to make sense, later on in life. So it's something that I appreciate that culture of education. So on to the next question, right? So what are the great things you guys are expecting from the Augment Business School project, right? And what are like the long and medium term goals that you are willing to share?
I think the ambition for Augment is to become the standard in business education. We want to become the go-to place, the go-to website where you want to learn about business, and that anyone who has the Augment Business School on his CV, on his LinkedIn profile, can become more attractive to any employers that want to employ anyone. And so that's the big vision for us. We want to create synergies between our students. We want our students to create companies together. We want to create a great community and to become the standard in business education. And of course, it won't be done in 1 or 2 years. This is a 10-year plan, a 10-year ambition. And we want the traditional MBAs that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, that takes 2 years to complete, to become obsolete because of us, because we are able to change the game. We are able to make that revolution, and we are able to create a program that is more affordable, more practical, and better than traditional MBA. And so that's our ambition at Augment.
Oh, wow. So would it be correct that I say you are a disruptor in the space?
We are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are the major highs and lows of the Augment project thus far? What would you say are the highs and lows that you've had thus far, Joe?
There's multiple things to say. I mean, things, as we talked about it when we were talking about success and failure. People see the accomplishments and the milestones. They don't see what it takes behind the scenes. And I think, success makes the noise, but failure is on the background. And I think to be where we are today, it requires an amount of dedication and of work that is just honestly tremendous. And we went through lows. It was difficult even to go through the fundraising process. It was very intense. We weren't absolutely guaranteed that we were going to make it. Honestly, at the beginning, we didn't have anything. It was only an idea. We had to convince people that we were going to change the educational landscape. But at that point, we didn't have any students, any instructors. So people laughed at us. They thought we were kind of crazy. And the reality is you have to keep pushing. So, I mean, there's multiple lows. I don't think there's one specific one.
There isn't. And I think that we all know that lows are part of the game and just a way to get there.
Yeah.
And so we don't see lows as lows. Of course, individually, we have times that it's more difficult. We have our own problem, and the lows are more personal than collective, I would say.
And I have a good one
Exactly.
for you. Yeah. I'm not sure who said it, but it's something that I'm not sure it's exactly like that, but it's along the lines of, and I think it's a good state of mind to have throughout your life in general, is that when things go bad, it's never as bad as it looks. And even when things go, very well, it's also not as good as it looks.
Dude.
Things are always in the middle. And I think it's a matter of equanimity, of keeping it balanced. So even when we were going through difficult times, we just try to remind ourselves that it was not that bad. You have to put things into perspective. And when things are going very well, which is the case now, very honestly, we're still at a scale where we want to keep growing. As I said, it's only the beginning. So it's a matter of keeping it balanced and in the equilibrium. And I think we try to do this every day. And I agree with Roy. It's more on an individual level, I would say, the lows, not from a macro for the business.
Interesting, the pains behind the gains, right? The stories behind the glories, right? Interesting. So speaking of convincing people, you guys have a really fantastic program. The founder of Waze, founder of Shazam, founder of Wikipedia, top executive to Uber with Meta. How did you guys convince this top-notch entrepreneurs, right? These top business leaders to come on board? Just a snippet, just share a little with us,
I think Roy can answer this. I'm just going to want to say one thing before Roy. I can guarantee you that they didn't do it for the money. The founder.
Exactly. I am on the program, right? I'm partaking in the program. I can see the passion. I can see right through them the passion with which they are passing the message. Right. And that's something about me as well. When I started my podcast as well, I told you, I think we had a discussion for me, it's not about the money, it's about the impact. Right. And then, when you do things because of the motivation of the impact, money will find you. That's, one thing my father always told me growing up, do the right things, offer value to people. And money is something you get over time by being somebody who offers value to people. Right. So lessons from my father. So for you guys, right? How did you go about it? Just a snippet.
Yeah. So obviously this is our secret sauce, but at the beginning, when we had nothing, we had no website, no other courses done previously, nothing. We had to go for it, and we email everyone at the Silicon Valley, everyone we thought would be a great first instructors for Augment. And one day, the founder of Shazam answered to us. He was interested to talk. Yeah, Chris is a great friend of ours now. And we discussed, we had a few phone calls. We tried to convince him that we were the right person to tell his story, for his legacy, that we will do high quality production, that he will look great. And then he told us, guys, please come to San Francisco. Let's have dinner. So with my co-founder, we went to San Francisco, we met him. And at that moment, it was all about trust, all about convincing him that we were the right person. And because we had such a great night, such a great fit, he decided to trust us and he said, let's go for it. And after that, it was much easier to convince the other top instructors that we were serious about it, because we had that one big name that was so difficult to have at the very beginning. And then, because we invested so much into production, that the quality of our videos, and I think that you can talk about this, are the same quality as Masterclass or as Netflix. It made
One word. Sorry to interrupt you. One word. Those videos are cinematographic. Cinematographic. You know, I use an iPhone 14, right? And then there's an option on the camera to have a cinematographic video. That it's some level of high definition that I cannot explain. I'm not a tech expert myself, right? But then those those videos are better than life, so to speak. So,
But this was very important for us.
It was the goal. Yeah.
It was very important for us to create high quality production with high quality instructors. And because we have that high quality production, then other top instructors are interested to do classes with us. And that was the case, for example, with the founder of YouTube, Steve Chen. He was very impressed by the quality of our production. He was very impressed by the quality of the classes that we did with the others, that he wanted to participate and to be part of the Augment story.
We could leverage it now much easier, obviously. Like now that we have, a pretty significant faculty member team, it's easier for us to leverage that and for us to be able to convince other high-level industry experts to come and work with us and participate in building the curriculum. So yeah, I mean, it's
interesting. Okay, so the next question is two-pronged, basically, right? So how do you guys achieve work-life balance, and what are your hobbies and personal interests?
I mean,
we don't have work-life balance, to be honest.
Work balance.
We are young. We want to succeed. We want to have the ambition. We will have a lot of time in the future to enjoy. So of course we have our girlfriends and we try to make time for our families. But apart from that, we are very much into the work. And for me, it's my hobby to go to the office with the team and to work. So yeah, work-life balance is not my priority today.
Yeah, I agree.
At the moment, same thing goes for you, Joe, as well, right?
It's the price to pay. I don't know. I don't think it's the case for everyone. I think everyone works differently, and I respect every types of methods. But I think it is a price to pay at the beginning. And I think we're young, as Roy said. We'll have time to rest and to enjoy. Now we just want to go for it, and if you want to really go for it, you have to go all in. And we're all in, and yeah, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of energy, but it is what it is, and it is satisfying. So we obviously have hobbies and things that we like, but I mean.
Okay, so what are your hobbies? What are your hobbies?
We're big fans of sports, Roy and I. I'm a big football fan. I really enjoy football and tennis. I enjoy watching a lot of sports, to be fair.
And Joe is very good at chess.
I really enjoy. I have an obsession with chess. I have to say, it's almost an obsession.
Are you a grandmaster?
Sorry?
Are you a grandmaster now?
Not yet. No, I think that is a significant investment of time. Not yet. I hope one day I reach, a pretty serious level. But yeah, I really love it. I would advise everyone to try to play chess for a bit. It's really useful.
Yeah, it's quite an intellectual game, What you guys are saying, it reminds me of the title of a book I read growing up. It's titled "Invest Your Youthful Years." It speaks about how people tend to have a lot of energy and time in their 20s and their 30s, right? But if you let that span of time, go without having invested it into something productive, something resourceful, right? You would be living, in very big regrets going forward. And I think that actually leads people into midlife crisis. You get it. But then, when you invest your youthful years, in something productive, something resourceful, it makes you relevant going forward. And you now tend to spend less energy going forward. Well, imagine trying to get into like an entry level role or starting a business in your 40s. Like it's quite difficult, and there are lots of distractions at that point in life. So kudos to you guys, for what you guys are doing. So before you guys go, what advice do you have for upcoming professionals business people, young people in general, like what advice do you have for young people, the up and coming? Roy goes first.
I think we are all unique in some way. We are all good at something, and the key is to find what you are good at and to follow that and to go 100%. And of course, we all have talent in something, but talent is necessary, but not enough. Once you know where you have the talent, then you need to go 100% and work harder than everyone else to succeed. So my advice would be know your talent and then work harder than everyone else.
Oh, wow, interesting. Well said. How about you, Joe?
I think talent is the tip of the iceberg as well, and I think it's a good image to have. A lot of people know this, but it requires deep thinking in order to truly understand what it means. I do agree that I think everyone has something special about them, but it really is the tip of the iceberg. It requires a lot of dedication, perseverance, and I think you used the word yourself, resilience. A serious amount of resilience.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story before we go. That is, Roy is concerned. It's the way that he kind of convinced me to join Augment at the beginning, when it was really only an idea. It was nothing more than that, and that's how I joined the adventure right at the get-go. He said this to me. He looked at me and he said, "I really believe people have something special about them. Almost everyone has it, and it's only a matter of finding it as quick as possible, but no pressure, And once you do find it, you just have to go for it." And that's what he told me. That's honestly one of the ways how he convinced me to come and join Augment from the get-go. And I haven't regretted it since. I think an advice I give to people is that, doubt is part of the journey. Whatever kinds of questioning that you might have, things won't always go your path, which is obvious. But I mean, you just have to understand and take a step back, put things into perspective. And just admire what you've already accomplished, because as small as it is, it still is something. I'm sure of it. So I think it's a matter as well. I think the importance of confidence, self-confidence is something that I thought was very hard at the beginning, and I'm improving in that. And I think a lot of people, have to work on that, because it really makes a difference.
I saw something this weekend that was really interesting, so I want to share it. Someone said that career paths are the worst thing that you can have, because career paths are for lazy people that want to get somewhere in the shortest way. And so his logic was that if you want to have that career path, I will do this, then this, then this, then this. Then when you are in the first part of your journey, you are not open-minded. And so you don't see all opportunities, because you think about the career path. So one advice would be, do not have a career path, and you might do bigger things.
Wow,
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, be open-minded, right? Be open-minded. So we have a tradition at the end of the podcast, right? So the previous guest leaves a question for the current guest, and the current guest leaves a question for the next guest. So interesting. I think the next guest will have two questions to answer, because two of you have to leave questions, right? But then, do you want to know the question that the previous guest left for you?
For sure.
You want to
Go
know?
ahead.
Okay, so that is Rafian Stutz. That's the former Bellator interim bantamweight champion of the world. So he's a fighter, and then he's left this question for you. He says, "What would you love your legacy to be?"
Well, that's deep. That's deep. Requires some amount of thinking.
First, I would say that someone who has been a great partner, a great friend, and then we have created something impactful to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's simple, but I think I actually agree. It's very straightforward. First there's the personal level. Being someone remembered as from your family, from your friends, your wife, and your children. Someone who obviously was a generous and nice person. And then, truly trying to have a positive impact in what you're doing, and truly being remembered as someone who added value in one way or another. With one community or multiple ones, is something that I would find tremendously honorable to have as a legacy, and I hope I will get there. It's a long way, though. We have time. hopefully we have time. We're
Yes.
working on our legacy.
Definitely. So what questions would you like to leave for the next guest to answer?
Do you have an idea? Let me think.
I love that. What is the moment what is the thing that you are the most proud of? I think it's a
Wow.
nice one.
Okay, interesting. What's the theme that you're the most proud of? How about you, Joe? What question are you leaving for the next guest?
I would say maybe if you had a second life, what would you have loved to do? Truly, that you maybe feel regret that you're not doing, but maybe the second best thing that you would love to truly do, but you just don't have time to do it.
Good question.
That's a great one. That's a really, really great one. And speaking of great ones, this episode has been really, really great. It's been a great one. So thank you very much for your time. Joe and Roy, you guys are the best. And of course, I wish you the very best for the future. I wish, the Augment Business School project, greater heights, more impact. And of course, to everybody, doing great. I'm really proud of you guys. I'm really proud of your journey. Thank you very much once more for giving us your time.
Thank you. Honestly, we're proud to have you as a student. And I mean this, I was honored when you contacted me. As a student of ours, being able to work and collaborate with the student is it's one of the things that I'm most proud of. I feel like it's amazing. We have our own, relationship now, and I really admire what you're doing. I think it's very interesting, and I wish you all the best, honestly. And if we can help, we'll always.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was amazing to discuss and to speak and to share our story on your podcast. So thank you so much for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care.
Much, guys. Okay, bye.
See you next week. Bye-bye.